Welcome to Amateur Redneck Workshop. Today, I'm Harold, and today we're going to do something different from reviewing rifle scopes and reflex sights and bipods and such things. We're actually going to do a little machine shop thing. And some of you guys that have been here a long time and actually watched the video may remember when I tried using a wiper motor to power the lift, raise the head up and down on the little Grizzly. And the only way it would work was if I really poured a lot of amperage into it, because I was using the little motor 1-to-1 with the thing. Well, then I later went on to use the little wiper motor to lift up almost 500 pounds. And I did that by adding a couple of gears to the situation. So I've still got those gears, and I've still got the Grizzly, and I still want to lift the head automatically, by power instead of cranking the crank. So that's the project we're going to start on. We're going to make a second attempt at it and see how it comes out. I'll have to make a different bracket from last time, and I'll have to do some modifications on the gears, I imagine. But that's what we're going to do this time. It's taking a little longer to get started on this project because the boss lady gave me an opportunity to take her around town shopping, and we've got this place here called Ulta. It's U-L-T-A. It's like heaven for women. They've got a building there probably nearly as big as a Walmart, full of makeup. Just smear on makeup, spray on makeup, rub on makeup, dust on makeup. Any way you can think of, they got it. And it's, I think, about all $30 a container. At least starts there. And so I took her over there, and she went in, and I counted 817 women come and went from that place while she was in there, and one man. That doing those little errands like that delayed me a little, but we're on it now, and we're going to get her done. Okay? Let's go on and start machining something. Well, now we know from previous videos that one of my hopes was to motorize the lifting of this guy here. Back up where you see what guy I'm talking about. With the head on this little Grizzly, and that's where the crank mounts, right there. I pulled the crank off to measure the size of that shaft, and it turns out it's 17 millimeters. And I had sort of had in my mind that I could use this gear right here along with the other gear that I had put together to make my test of lifting, what was it, almost 500 pounds. So I figure if it lifts almost 500 pounds on a cable, it should lift that head if it's geared in. Now the problem here is this hole. We got a 17 millimeter shaft, and this hole is 19 millimeters right here. He's 19, so that's a 2 millimeter bushing that I need to make to go in there, because after all it does need to fit snug and not wobble around, it being a gear, So I think it's worth doing, worth making a bushing. So that's what I'm going to do. I'll make me a bushing to occupy 2 millimeters of the diameter, and then we'll see where we go from there. Now the threads on this thing here on the shaft are right hand threads, so this thing screws on in that direction, which was something I had to take into consideration when I was using it as a winch to see how much it could lift. Okay, but if I want this thing to lift up the head there, then I've got to let's see, wrong direction. That should be the lifting direction right there. As you can see, the gears turning, but that's putting the pressure on this gear in the unscrewing direction, which is a sort of a problem. I think maybe I can drill a really small hole through there and drive a pin through it, one of those spring pins, and that would probably hold it really well. So that's what my plan is. I'll secure this thing with a pin right through there, and then we'll see where we go from there. The shaft isn't really big, so I can't use a really big pin, you know. Of course, I don't know, it's not got as much pressure on it when it's turning this little gear as it does when it's, you know, doing other things. So that's my plan. It may not work out, but I've got to build a little support here. This gear will go on here. Let's see if I can get this where you're looking at what I'm talking about. There we are. Anyway, this gear will go on here. I'm going to have to bush it, of course, as you can see it's got too big a hole. And then I'll suspend the motor out here, hopefully sticking up like this out of the way. And I've got to make some brackets that hold on to there to run the little booger. So I think it's all going to work out, hopefully. You know, you got to be optimistic when you're not sure. I've actually got two of these indicators, you know, with the back plunger, or clocks as double boost would call them. And I don't often use this set, you know, all the little special attachments to set things up. But today I need it, so I've got it set up. Alright, so I've got to get my reading glasses on, and we got to crank this guy in so he gives us a reading. I don't know how far it is to touch the thing. Oh, dummy. Going the wrong way. Like I said, I don't use this very much, so I obviously get messed up on how it works. This is what I'm going to do to indicate it, and I'm not going to sit here with the camera on it the whole time because you'll make me nervous. Alright, so I got it running true on the face, and I've got it running true in the bore, at least within a half a thousandth. And I think that'll do it. I left 3/1000 clearance for slack, you know, for backlash when I cut the gear, so I'm not eating up much of it using that half a thousandth. So I think that's going to work out all right. I'll bore that out to fit this guy here, put this guy in, and then bore him out to fit the shaft over there. That should work, I think, theoretically. Alright, I've got about 1/4 of an inch to go to make it all the way to the bottom of this thing, or to make the diameter right. So we'll just keep on going about 20,000 instead of whack. No way bomb cuts. And it goes on like that for a long time. Same old stuff. So I'm going to skip over it. Now my plan is that I'm going to get this within that hole to about a half a thousandth smaller than this guy. And then I'm going to put this thing in the boss lady's freezer and shrink it down, and then put a little bit of heat on there and try to pop them together. Of course, I haven't consulted the boss lady yet, so we don't know if it's going to get vetoed or not. Well, no need for any fancy thermodynamics here. My last cut made them exactly the same size, so I can get this guy in there, I'm pretty sure, by just a few little taps with a rubber hammer or something. It really wants to go, so I think that I'll just shove it in like that. Got a mark where I want it to go to. Not really straight in there, is it? There. Now then, all I've got to do is double check it with the indicator and bore it out. That's plenty tight enough, I think. I'm going to part off some of it so I don't have to stand here whittling away at it a long time. Alright, so now I've got just a little bit of cleanup on this end before I bore the 17 millimeter hole. What I got to keep my mind on is 17 millimeters, you know, and don't forget it. Alright, I'll change the tooling around, square that off, and we'll start building a hole. Alright, so my plug fits a little bit through to the other side, you know, which is what I wanted, so that I didn't have to worry about whether the other side was at an angle or not from being sawed off with a bandsaw. And my plug is holding up really well to drilling the holes, so we'll just go and get closer yet to 17 millimeters, which I figure is somewhere in the 5/8 of an inch range. That's the end of the threads, but I know it's not all the way through. Anyway, we'll continue on like this, and I'll be back to the boring bar in just a bit. Well, the hole is bored, so now we just need to clean up the back side of the gear, which has got some metal sticking out of it. As you can see. So let me clean up my mess here, and then I'll move on to the next step in this thing. I swapped the chucks so I could do this faster. I guess really I could part it off again and then clean it up. That'd be the best move. I don't know why I'm trying to do it the hard way. I guess that's just the way us rednecks do things. So what we'll do, we'll part this off, and then I'll clean it up. Because the camera was off, you guys missed a good laugh. When I put all these new drawers and cabinets and stuff in, I had to move the vacuum cleaner around on this other side of the Grizzly. And when I put the hoses back on it, instead of putting the hose on the suck side, I put it in the blow side. And I just come over here to clean off, and blue chips everywhere. It was a mess. Alright, I'm going to square this up, and then we'll move on to the next step. Alright, we're all finished up. We're relatively flush there with a nice new chamfer. And I think instead of trying to put this hole on through, I'll just move around to the other side and put another hole in it and thread it. Probably work out just as good as trying to thread this one on through that sleeve. I don't know. I'll probably look to see how long the screw is and how long of screws I've got around here. That could influence me too, but I think I'd be better off with a new hole. Now here's something that you guys have probably known about for years and years, but I hadn't actually thought about. When you use this wiggler, you can drop the thing down without having to be at the absolute exact outside edge of this thing. As long as you drop it the same depth on both sides, when it kicks out, you can determine whether you're whether you're in the middle or not. It's so simple, yet something I didn't think about until I saw somebody else do it. Now this guy's not spinning terribly fast, but I'm going to take it down till it touches, and it should get all nice and straight, I hope. It'll make a liar out of me. And then it should kick off like it did just right there. Alright, so I set the Z to be 0 right down there when I'm at the bottom. I'm going to set the X for 0. I'm just going to lift this guy up. It's not as simple as it looks, is it? It does make kind of an ugly mark on the metal from the edge of it. And now I've got here 2.362, and so and half of that is 1.81. Now then, I'm going to see if I get the same 0 but going all the way down to the side of it. Who knows? Could be interesting. Yeah, the results are the same if we go all the way down or not. So, who would have thought? I'm going to make myself a little flat spot with the end mill, although I don't necessarily need a little flat spot. I could put a center drill in there, and I'm sure it would make a nice spot for the drill bit anyway. And you're not supposed to do this. You're not supposed to put an end mill in a drill chuck. So don't do this at home, kids. That made a nice, beautiful, round, flat spot. Now I'll get a center drill and drill it, and we're going to put a 3/8/16 grub screw or set screw, depending on where you're from, down in that hole. Well, that's all, folks. Y'all try to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. Leave a comment if you got something to say. And above all, remember, keep on keeping on. Bye now.